The steam from the dryer curls around my wrists as if it wants to warm me back into the woman I was yesterday. I fold the towels the way I always do, edges kissing, corners squared, and the red one in my hands goes cool all at once. The door to the laundry room is barely open. I didn't mean to listen. I tell myself that twice, 3 times, as his voice slides in. Calm, easy, the tone he uses when he asks for extra gravy at Thanksgiving. The best Christmas gift would be if she just died. My son. My only child. The vowels don't hit me at first. The temperature does. Something in the air drops, and I can see my breath where there shouldn't be any. I wait for laughter, for the soft backpedal people do when they realize words can bruise. Nothing. A spoon clinks in the kitchen. Another voice, bright and casual. You said it, not me. I press my palm to the counter to keep from falling through the floor. The towel slides from my hands and lands in a small red sigh at my feet. I don't pick it up. Upstairs, the in-law suite is a careful box where I keep myself small. No locks. Off-white walls that swallow sunlight and give nothing back. I sit on the bed and open the notebook that holds grocery lists and reminders to call the pharmacy. On a clean page, I write his sentence, every word in ink that doesn't smudge. I read it once. Again. A third time, until the letters steady and stop trying to rearrange into something kinder. Downstairs, a Christmas tree blinks on a loop, insistent and oblivious. I used to thread paper snowflakes with the kids, hang them so they turned when the heat kicked on. The house smells like cinnamon and a candle that costs too much, the kind with a name that promises peace. I have given money, time, my furniture, my pride. I have given until the shape of me blurred. I open the closet and pull the smallest suitcase, the one that still wears an airline tag from the cruise I canceled when unemployment wrapped my son in fog. Inside the lining, exactly where I left it, an envelope waits with my husband's handwriting. Plan B. The paper inside is crisp and cold and mine. My name, legal, stubborn, still lives on a deed he never bothered to amend. I smooth the pages on the bed. My hands stop shaking. I add 4 words beneath his sentence in the notebook. I heard you, Jason. When morning comes, the coffee is lukewarm, and I am pale in the stainless steel. He shuffles in and says, "Morning," like the night was nothing. She scrolls her phone, tapping acrylics against glass. Lights blink. I stir and say I'm tired. It is the truth. It is also the last time I will let that be the whole of it. The coffee is already lukewarm when I set the mug down and wipe the rim with my thumb, a nervous habit I never outgrew. Jason stirs his own cup, pretending not to notice how pale I look. Morning, he mutters again, as if saying it twice will erase the sentence I wrote in my notebook last night. Lindsay floats past us in her matching workout set, phone glowing in her hand. She doesn't look at me, doesn't need to. Her silence has always been louder than words. I watch them both move around the kitchen, casual, rehearsed. He opens the fridge. She checks her reflection in the microwave door. The tree lights blink behind them, steady and cheery, mocking me. I sip my coffee and force my lips into something neutral. You look tired, Jason says finally, eyes on the counter instead of my face. Didn't sleep much. My voice is steady, but I can hear the undertow. You should try melatonin, Lindsay offers, still scrolling. It works wonders. I almost laugh. I almost choke. Melatonin for this. For a son who wants me dead. I press the spoon to the bottom of the mug until I hear the faint scrape of ceramic, a sound that steadies me more than any pill could. When they leave the room, I carry the mugs to the sink and wash them one by one, listening to the water run over my hands. It's the same ritual every morning. Dishes, counters, laundry, school pickups. My existence here is a list of invisible tasks, performed quietly so no one has to admit I'm holding the house together. Upstairs, I sit at the tiny desk tucked against the window and pull open the drawer where I keep old mail. The logo on the envelope hits me like a slap. Mortgage company. I tear it open slowly, as if the pace will soften the blow. Past due. 3 months. The letters swim on the page, black ink bleeding into panic. I open my laptop, fingers stiff, and log into the account I set up for emergencies. Thousands gone. Withdrawals I never approved. Charges I never made. Jason's name, Jason's hand. The air thickens, and I push the chair back before I suffocate. I pace the room, whispering to myself, "You're not crazy. You're not overreacting. They've been bleeding you dry." My reflection in the window nods back at me, older than I remember, tired but sharp. The front door slams downstairs. Lindsay's voice floats up, too bright for someone who can't pay the bills. "She's always in her little cave," she says. I press my knuckles to my mouth, tasting salt and steel. Later, Jason knocks on my door. He leans in, all false charm. "Mom, we were thinking maybe after the holidays we could, rearrange some finances, just to make things smoother." "Smoother for who?" "For all of us," he says too quickly. "I already handle most of the bills. It makes sense." The silence between us stretches until he shifts his weight, uncomfortable. "That money is still mine," I say evenly. "Of course, I just meant—" "No!" The word is sharp, unfamiliar in my own mouth. "You meant what you said, and I heard you." His face goes blank, confusion feigned, or maybe real. "What?" "Nothing." I grab my coat. "I just need air." I walk out into the December cold, each step on the pavement a drumbeat under my ribs. The neighborhood glows with inflatable reindeer and blinking icicles, houses strung with cheer. I wrap my scarf tighter and keep moving, letting the wind slice through me, reminding me I'm still here, still solid. By the time I circle back, my legs ache. Inside, the house hums with the usual sounds, TV sports commentary, the hiss of a candle lighter. They don't ask where I've been. They don't notice. I climb the stairs quietly and close my door. For the first time since I moved into this suite, I lock it with the tiny metal latch Jason doesn't know I installed. From under the bottom drawer, I pull out the envelope Robert made me keep. His handwriting steadies me even now. Hope for the best, prepare for the worst. He'd known. Somehow, he'd known. Inside are copies of the deed, the co-ownership contract, the lawyer's letter. Proof that my name still carries weight, that I still exist here in more than chores and quiet. The paper feels cool and alive against my palms. My chest expands as though the walls finally pushed back an inch. I set the documents on the bed and smooth the wrinkles, my hands no longer trembling. That night, I can't sleep. Every time I close my eyes, I hear Jason's voice again, see Lindsay's indifferent shrug. I sit up, turn on the lamp, and stare at the documents until dawn. The next morning, I call Sophia, the lawyer Robert trusted. She answers on the third ring, her voice calm, professional, warm. "Elaine, is everything all right?" "No," I whisper, then louder. "I need to know if the paperwork we filed on the house is still valid." "It is," she says after a pause. "You never signed the removal? Jason never filed it." "So I still legally own 40%? "Yes, why? What's happening?" I tell her. Not every detail, but enough. The overheard words, the drained accounts, the mortgage sliding toward default. Her tone sharpens. "You're not trapped. You have options." "I don't want revenge," I say. "I just want out, but on my terms." "Then we act. I'll draft a notice of intent to sell. It will hit both of them directly." I close my eyes, feeling something shift inside me, heavy but clean. Make sure they both see it. I want it undeniable. After I hang up, I open my suitcase and begin to pack. Not frantic, not rushed. Each folded sweater is a declaration. Each pair of socks tucked into the corner is an answer. I pack light. Essentials, passport, Robert's watch. I leave behind the blankets I bought for grandkids who no longer ask for sleepovers. I leave behind the furniture I was never allowed to move. By afternoon, the suitcase waits by the door like a silent ally. I sit at the desk and open my notebook. On a new page I write, "This house was never theirs alone. Neither was I." Downstairs, laughter floats up, brittle and hollow. I listen for a moment, then close the notebook with a snap. The tree lights blink on and off, but something in me has stopped flickering. The suitcase waits by the door like a confession I haven't voiced aloud. For hours, I circle it, touch the zipper, smooth the fabric, step away again. Downstairs, the TV hums. Lindsay laughs at something on her phone. Jason's voice rises and falls like background noise I can't mute. I hear them, but I don't join them. My world has shrunk to the width of this room, this bed, this envelope of papers that suddenly feels like armor. When Jason knocks, I don't answer at first. The sound is softer than usual, almost polite. "Mom?" His voice slips under the door. "Got a second?" I pull the handle and let him in. His smile is quick, practiced, the kind he's used since boyhood to escape trouble. Lindsay and I were thinking, maybe after the holidays we could rearrange some finances, make things smoother. I stare at him, really stare, until the grin wavers. Smoother for who? He shifts, runs a hand through his hair. For all of us. You've got money sitting around. It makes sense to consolidate so nothing falls through the cracks. The gall of it, spoken as if I should thank him. I let the silence stretch until even he can hear the weight of it. "That money is mine," I say, steady. He laughs lightly. "Of course, I didn't mean—" "Yes, you did." My voice cuts sharper than I planned. "And I heard you, every word." He blinks, confusion flickering across his face like static. "What are you talking about?" "Nothing," I murmur. "I just need some air." I push past him, the scent of his cologne trailing behind me, and walk straight out the front door. Cold air rushes into my lungs, biting but clean. I circle the block with hands stuffed in my pockets, each step a hammer beat that drives me closer to something inevitable. By the time I return, the house feels smaller, suffocating. Jason sprawls on the couch, pretending to watch the game. Lindsay lights another candle, the kind that costs more than a week of groceries. They don't ask where I've been. I climb the stairs, close my door, and slide the latch into place. I pull out the envelope Robert left me, the one marked Plan B. His handwriting steadies me. Inside, the papers whisper power I almost forgot I had. Copies of the deed, the co-ownership contract, the lawyer's letter, numbers etched in ink that still mean something. My name beside his, not erased, not disposable. I lay them across the bed, smoothing the edges until they lie flat. My breath slows. My hands are steady. For the first time in years, I feel less like a ghost in this house and more like the woman who built it all. That night, I can't close my eyes. Every time I try, Jason's voice echoes. The best Christmas gift would be if she just died. Lindsay's sigh follows. Guess we'll just have to suck it up until then. The words circle me like wolves. I sit at the desk, open my laptop, and stare at the numbers until dawn. The accounts tell their story. Withdrawals I didn't authorize, bills I didn't know existed. My son bleeding me dry with the same calm he used to ask for milk as a boy. By morning, the decision is made. I call Sophia. She answers on the third ring. "Elaine?" I need to know if the deed is still valid. My voice doesn't shake. It is, she says firmly. You never signed the removal. Jason never filed it. So I still own 40%. Yes, why? I tell her. Not everything, but enough. The overheard words, the drained accounts, the past due mortgage. There's a pause, then her voice lowers. You have power here. You're not trapped. I don't want revenge. I just want out, but on my terms. Then we draft a notice of intent to sell. I'll have it ready tomorrow. I close my eyes. Make sure it goes to both of them. Direct. Undeniable. When I hang up, I open my suitcase. I fold sweaters with a precision that feels ceremonial. 2 scarves, 1 coat, Robert's watch. Essentials only. Each item folded away is another piece of me saying no. Downstairs, life continues. Jason mutters at the TV. Lindsay scrolls. The kids chatter. The tree blinks on and off, cheerful and oblivious. None of them know the fuse has already been lit. That evening, the lights flicker once, then go dark. At first, I think it's the tree, but then the house hums into silence. No fridge buzz, no TV commentary, no fake fireplace crackling. The power is gone. Lindsay's voice slices through the dark. This can't be happening. We have guests coming tomorrow. Jason fumbles with his phone, swearing under his breath. I paid it. I thought I did. I stand at the top of the stairs, my hand trailing the railing. You thought I'd cover it? My voice is calm, cutting through their panic like glass. Jason's head snaps up. He looks at me like a child caught stealing cookies, eyes wide, guilty. Not anymore, I say simply. Lindsay slams the fridge door. You can't just cancel payments without telling anyone. You mean the way you canceled my place in this house months ago? I walk down the stairs slowly, each step echoing. I open a cabinet, pull down a tin of cookies I baked for the girls, and set it on the counter. You made your choice. I'm making mine. Their faces shift. Panic, confusion, anger. But I don't stay to watch. I turn and climb back to my room, the tin of cookies still warm against my palms. All night, the house stays dark. Lindsay storms out at one point. Jason chases after her. I don't move. I sit by the window, suitcase ready, documents stacked neatly beside me. Snow drifts across the street, thin and soft. The world outside is cold, but inside me, something glows steady. At dawn, I roll the suitcase quietly through the hallway. The kids are asleep, their stockings limp on the mantel. I place a small gift for each under the darkened tree, brown paper packages with their names scrawled in thick marker. Inside each, a letter from me. Not goodbye, just love, memories, reminders that none of this was their fault. At the door, I pause. My heart beats hard, but steady. The shuttle waits at the curb, engine humming in the cold. I close the door behind me with care, leaving the house in silence. Snow crunches under my boots as I step into the driveway. I don't look back until I'm inside the shuttle, suitcase tucked beside me. Through the window, the house stands dark and small, Christmas tree unlit. That was their gift. The one they thought they wanted. The one they'll never understand until it's too late. On the flight to Paris, I don't cry. Not at takeoff. Not when the captain announces our descent. Not when the stranger beside me asks if I'm meeting family. No, I say with a smile. I left them behind. The city greets me with lights and movement, banners strung across boulevards, couples clutching hands, laughter spilling from cafes. No one knows who I am. For the first time in years, that feels like freedom. Lucille, an old friend of Robert's, hands me keys to her apartment. Stay as long as you like, she says. That night, I sip tea by the window and watch the Eiffel Tower sparkle. My phone buzzes again and again. Jason, Lindsay, numbers I know by heart. I don't answer. I place it face down on the table and let the silence spread.
Sophia's email arrives the next morning. Subject line: Notice of intent to sell, Elaine Thomas. It's official now. My absence has weight. My name still stands.
I breathe it in, deep and slow. For the first time in years, I feel like the air belongs to me. Paris hums outside my window like a city that never once needed my sacrifice to keep moving. The streets are alive with horns and footsteps, the glitter of holiday lights bouncing off wet pavement. Inside, the apartment is still. Too still. I cradle a mug of tea, its steam brushing my face, but my hand trembles as if it's not convinced I deserve calm. The email from Sophia glows on my laptop screen. Notice of intent to sell has been sent. It should make me feel powerful. Instead, a familiar hollowness creeps in. I imagine Jason opening that message, Lindsay reading it over his shoulder. Their faces twist in disbelief, then rage. My chest tightens. I remind myself I did this for survival, not vengeance. By evening, my phone won't stop buzzing. Jason first, then Lindsay, then both at once. Calls, texts, missed video requests. I flip the phone over and stare at the blank case. The silence feels safer, but guilt gnaws at the edges. I see the grandkids' faces in my mind, the way their small hands once tugged at mine, the way they leaned against me during story time. Do they understand any of this? Do they blame me? I close my eyes and hear Robert's voice, steady and sure. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. He'd insisted we put my name on the deed. He'd made me save those account numbers. He'd been preparing me for a moment I never wanted to imagine. Still, loneliness stalks me. I walk to the window, press my palm to the cold glass, and watch strangers hurry past in scarves and wool coats. None of them know me. None of them would call me a burden. The thought is comforting and also unbearably sad.
The next morning, Sophia calls. Her tone is brisk, but beneath it, I hear worry. They're panicking, Elaine. The mortgage is past due, the account's thin. They'll want to negotiate.
Let them panic, I say softly, though my throat burns. They wanted me gone. This is what gone looks like. That night, I try to sleep, but dreams twist around me like vines. Jason's voice repeats, cold as stone. The best Christmas gift would be if she just died. I jolt awake, heart pounding, convinced I hear footsteps outside the apartment. Only the radiator hisses, the city sighing through old walls. Still, I pace the room, fists clenched. The weight of abandonment presses hard. I call Lucille the next day, just to hear a friendly voice. She insists I come to dinner. I almost say no, but the silence is swallowing me. So I walk through narrow streets lined with bakeries and bookstores, each window glowing with warmth. At her table, surrounded by mismatched chairs and the scent of roasted chicken, I feel human again. She pours me wine, presses bread into my hand, and listens without judgment. When I return to the apartment, my phone flashes with new messages. I scroll through them, even though I shouldn't. Jason. You blindsided us. Lindsay. You've ruined everything. Another from Jason. The kids don't understand why you left. My stomach twists. I sink onto the bed, phone pressed to my chest, torn between shame and fury. For days, I drift like that, half free, half shackled to the weight of their words. I walk along the Seine, watch the Eiffel Tower spark to life, lose myself in markets where no one calls me mother, no one calls me burden. Yet at night, doubt creeps in. Am I cruel? Did I abandon too much?
Then Sophia's voice grounds me again. Elaine, you have leverage. Don't forget that. You're not a ghost. You are a co-owner.
Her words ignite something small but bright inside me. Still, when I hang up, I sit at the desk and cry. Not loud, not messy, but a silent spill I can't hold back. It's not for Jason or Lindsay. It's for the years I gave away without boundaries, the woman I became while trying to keep the peace. On New Year's Eve, fireworks burst over the city, brilliant and unrestrained. I watch from the balcony, wrapped in Robert's old coat, and whisper a promise. I will not crawl back. Not this time. But the ache doesn't vanish. The kids' faces hover at the edge of every decision. I write them letters, careful and gentle, reminding them they are loved. I slip photos inside. Holidays we shared, cookies we baked, nights I tucked them in. I seal the envelopes with shaking hands. They will know I didn't leave because of them. By the first week of January, Sophia forwards me another email chain. Jason has written the mortgage company, frantic. He calls me cold, unresponsive, claims I've abandoned my duties. Sophia's reply is crisp. Miss Thomas remains a legal co-owner, and she is within her rights. I read it 3 times, each word a shield. The victory tastes bitter, though. Alone in this borrowed apartment, I pace until my knees ache. I whisper to the empty room. Why does power feel like grief? The phone buzzes again. A video call. Jason. Against my better judgment, I answer. His face fills the screen, pale, drawn. Behind him, the house looks dark, bare. What were you thinking, Mom? His voice cracks with fury and something else, fear. I gave you exactly what you asked for, I say calmly. You told me to disappear, so I did. His eyes widen. You heard that? Every word. He stumbles over excuses, but I end the call before he can spin them into apologies. My hands shake when I set the phone down, but for once, it isn't fear. It's the weight of a boundary holding steady. I breathe deep, letting the Paris night air wash through the cracked window. The ache is still there, yes, but under it, something steadier hums. Resolve. For the first time in decades, I'm not holding everyone else together. I'm holding myself. Paris had begun to thaw, though the Seine still carried a chill in its breath when I walked alongside it each morning. I liked to match my footsteps to the rhythm of the river, slow and certain, because certainty was something I hadn't felt in years. Still, even in this city that did not know my name, shadows of the house I left behind clung to me. They followed through the glow of bakery windows, hid behind the laughter of couples rushing toward cafes. Shadows shaped like Jason's voice, Lindsay's sigh, the unlit tree. I tried to walk them away, but every evening the phone reminded me they were still tethered. Missed calls, texts, emails, all variations of the same plea disguised as accusation. You blindsided us. You ruined everything. The kids don't understand. Sometimes I opened the messages. Sometimes I didn't. Either way, the words seeped in like cold through a cracked window. Sophia was my anchor. She called often, her tone brisk, professional, but with an edge of care. They're unraveling, Elaine. The mortgage is sliding further into default. They can't juggle the credit cards and utilities without your safety net. They're desperate to negotiate. Desperate for what? I asked, though I already knew. For you to carry them again. A bitter laugh rose in my throat. Of course, that's all I ever was to them. A silent parachute. Not anymore, she said. You hold the strings now. Don't let guilt convince you to hand them back. That night, I sat by the window with a notebook in my lap. The page waited, blank and patient. I wrote, "Love without respect is not love. It is hunger." I underlined it twice, pressing the pen so hard the imprint showed through 3 pages beneath. The following week, Sophia's emails carried a new intensity. Jason had written the mortgage company in a panic, insisting I was unreachable, claiming I had abandoned my responsibility. Sophia's reply, cool and sharp.
Miss Thomas remains a co-owner and is fully within her rights to proceed with the sale. I read it 3 times. For years, my voice in that house had been dismissed, mocked, silenced. Now, my name on paper spoke louder than Jason's pleas. Still, guilt nipped at me. I thought of the girls, their paper snowflakes taped to windows, their small fingers slipping cookie dough from the bowl when they thought I wasn't looking. Did they think I vanished because of them? I couldn't let that seed grow. So I wrote letters, one for each child. I filled them with stories of our time together. Reassurances that none of this was their fault. Reminders that love sometimes looks like leaving. I tucked photos inside, us at the park, baking, reading bedtime stories. Evidence that joy had existed and that it had been real. When I sealed the envelopes, my hands trembled. Not from doubt, but from the weight of ending a silence that had protected them at my expense. Days folded into one another. Walks by the river. Cups of tea cooling untouched. My phone buzzing like a trapped insect against the table. I tried to ignore it, but one afternoon the call came again, and against my better judgment, I answered. Jason's face filled the screen. He looked thinner, paler, his hair unkempt, eyes frantic. Behind him, the house was dim, as though light itself had abandoned them. "You can't do this, Mom," he said, voice shaking. "You mailed the letter. You gave me no chance. Do you know what you've done?" "Yes," I said evenly. "I gave you exactly what you asked for. You told me the best gift would be if I just disappeared. So I did." He blinked, stunned. "You heard that?" "Every word." He stumbled over excuses, but I cut him off. "You humiliated me first, repeatedly. This isn't cruelty. It's consequence." His lips parted, but I ended the call. My hands shook when I set the phone down, not from fear, but from something new. Relief. That night, Sophia emailed the official documents. The sale was moving forward. Jason and Lindsay would receive what remained, but no more of me. Their access was revoked. The fallout was immediate. Jason called until my voicemail filled. Lindsay sent a single message. "You've destroyed us." I stared at it, then deleted it. Their destruction wasn't mine. It was the natural collapse of a life built on my silence. The next morning, another message arrived. A photo. The Christmas tree, half lit, ornaments sparse, the girls asleep on the couch. No caption, just the image, a plea without words. My chest ached, but I didn't reply. Love could ache and still say no. A week later, Sophia called with finality in her tone. "It's done. The house is sold. The debts are cleared. Your share is secured." I pressed my hand to my chest. Not triumph, not sorrow, just stillness. That stillness broke when Jason left a voice message. His voice was flat, defeated. "You win. We're moving into an apartment near Lindsay's mom. The kids don't understand. Neither do I. Maybe it's what we deserve. If this is what you needed, you got it." I listened twice. Then I whispered to the empty apartment. "Your pain is not mine to manage anymore." For years, I had been a sponge for their chaos. I had absorbed their fear, their failures, their debts. I called it love. Now I understood it had been slow erasure. That night, I went to dinner alone at a small restaurant tucked into a narrow street. Candlelight flickered against stone walls, the scent of garlic and wine thick in the air. The waiter asked if I was celebrating. I almost said no, but then I smiled. "Yes," I told him. He didn't ask for details, and for the first time, I didn't offer any. Back at the apartment, I poured a glass of wine and opened my notebook. On the page, I wrote, "I didn't just walk away. I walked toward myself." I stared at the sentence until my eyes blurred, then added,
Let them learn from the echo of my absence. I closed the notebook and stood at the window. Paris shimmered below, indifferent, alive. For years, I had tried to make myself invisible to keep peace. Now, invisibility meant freedom. Still, some nights, loneliness crept in, soft but sharp. I missed the weight of my grandchildren against me. I missed the chaos of small voices. But longing didn't mean returning. Longing meant remembering that love and boundaries can live side by side. Jason's calls slowed. Lindsay's silence hardened. The storm had burned itself out, leaving only ashes. When Sophia delivered the final packet of documents, I sat at the table and reread every line. Official, legal, irrevocable. My part extracted cleanly, their portion reduced, but theirs to bear. I didn't feel victorious. I didn't feel vengeful. I felt steady. Later that night, Jason tried once more. A video call. I answered, not out of weakness, but because endings sometimes require witnesses. His face appeared, hollow. We're drowning, Mom. We're selling furniture. The girls don't understand. Why couldn't you just talk to me? I leaned close to the screen. Because you already told me what my voice was worth. Nothing. That's not fair. No, Jason, it's finally fair. You built your house on my sacrifices. Now you learn to build without me. He looked at me for a long moment, something breaking in his expression. Then he hung up. I closed the laptop, set it aside, and whispered into the quiet room. I am not your savior. I am not your scapegoat. I am me. I slept soundly that night for the first time in years. The Parisian winter softened as January slipped into February. Snow no longer powdered the rooftops, but the streets still carried a sharp wind that made me pull Robert's old coat tighter around me. I had grown used to the rhythm of this city, the rattle of the metro under my window, the bells from a distant church, the smell of bread rising every morning. I lived simply here, 2 drawers filled, 1 shelf in the kitchen, my suitcase tucked in the corner as if to remind me I had already proven I could leave when I had to. One morning, Sophia's final packet arrived by courier. Inside was the clean evidence of what I had fought for. The house sold, debts cleared, my share protected. Their portion remained, lean and fragile, but theirs to carry. I sat at the small table, papers spread before me, and realized I felt neither triumph nor grief. I felt something quieter, steadier, like breathing after holding your lungs tight for too long. Later that day, Jason sent a voice message. I hesitated before pressing play. His tone was flat, exhausted. You win, Mom. We're moving into an apartment near Lindsay's mother. The girls are confused. I don't even know what to say to them. Maybe it's what we deserve. If this is what you needed, you got it. I listened twice. Then I set the phone down and let the silence return. His pain pressed against me like fog at the window, but I no longer felt obliged to clear it away. For years I had managed his storms, calmed his chaos, carried his burdens. Not anymore. His choices belonged to him now. That evening, I walked along the Seine, the city lights reflecting in the black water like broken glass. Lovers leaned on the rails, children skipped stones, an accordion player filled the air with music. No one knew me. No one expected anything from me. For the first time in decades, I felt fully present inside my own skin. I whispered into the wind. This is what freedom sounds like. The ache for my grandchildren lingered, sharp and tender. I missed their laughter, their sticky fingers tugging at my sleeves, their bedtime questions that spilled like water. That part would always ache, but missing them didn't mean surrendering myself again. It meant trusting that one day they would read my letters, see the photos, and understand that I had loved them fiercely enough to stop letting myself be erased. Weeks later, Another message from Jason came, softer this time. I don't know what to say. Maybe I never will. But the girls miss you. We all do. I didn't reply. Sometimes silence is the truest answer. Sometimes absence is the only way to teach the weight of presence. On a quiet Sunday, I sat by the window of Lucille's apartment, sipping tea while the Eiffel Tower glittered in the distance. I opened my notebook to a fresh page and wrote 3 lines. I will never beg to be respected. I will never explain myself to people who refuse to listen. I will never call it love if it leaves me empty. The ink dried slowly. I closed the book, pressed it against my chest, and smiled. That night, I went out for dinner alone again. The waiter asked if I was celebrating. I thought of everything: the red towel slipping from my hands, the darkened Christmas tree, the envelopes I left under it, the suitcase rolling into the cold dawn, the sound of Paris breathing life into me again. I smiled at him. Yes, I said. I'm celebrating peace. He nodded, no questions asked, and that was enough. Back in the apartment, I poured a small glass of wine and stood at the window. The city hummed below, steady and indifferent. I raised the glass slightly, not in triumph, but in recognition of the journey I had walked through fire to reach. I whispered to the night, I didn't just walk away. I walked toward myself. For years, I had mistaken silence for peace, sacrifice for love, survival for living. Now I knew better. True love respects. True peace holds firm. And survival, when done right, leads you back to yourself. I thought of Robert's words again. Hope for the best. Prepare for the worst. He had been right. But I had learned one more truth. Preparing for the worst doesn't mean surrendering to it. It means knowing when to walk, when to draw the line, when to choose yourself. The city lights blurred into stars as my eyes watered, not from sorrow, but from the sharpness of release. Tomorrow, I would wake to another Paris morning, another cup of tea, another walk along the river. Life would go on, with or without their calls, their accusations, their guilt. And I would go on too. Not as a ghost in someone else's house. Not as a silent wallet. Not as a mother who gave until she disappeared. I would go on as Elaine Thomas. Flawed, scarred, but finally whole. Finally. If you are listening to my story, I'll ask you one thing. What would you do if the people you loved most told you your absence would be the greatest gift? Would you fold under the weight, or would you rise and walk toward yourself? If this story touched you, share your thoughts with me. Tell me where you are watching from. And if you want to hear more journeys like mine, of loss, survival, and the strength to draw a line, join me here on Roots and Secrets. Like, comment, subscribe. Not because I ask, but because stories like this remind us that dignity is never too late to reclaim.